Hey guys, it's Turek, and the rough One Piece chapter came out, and I did not guess right. That's what I'll start off by saying. I was only partially right in guessing that the culprit of this death game, I think Elda called it, was a satellite, but it just was not what I was suspecting. So. So last time we saw that the other Straw Hats here are still fighting the Seraphim, only the four we saw, and still don't know nothing on the other three, if they only have done 7. So Crocodile, Flamingo, and shoot, who's the other one that we don't have? Oh yeah, Bat probably. We'd call Bat Moria. I always forget Moria for some reason. I hope he comes back in the story again. We haven't seen him, what now? In about 150 chapters? A little over that now. 152. I think it was 925. So we don't know anything about those Seraphim. And what we saw instead is that Shaka realized where Vegapunk would probably be. And he successfully got down there. But he was taken out at the end of the last chapter. Gunshot to the head. And yeah, it's just and the other Straw Hats so far are not doing too well against the Seraphim, especially the ones fighting that's the Straw Hats. The other satellites are fighting for their life against the Seraphim, and the ones fighting S Snake in particular are having trouble because they've because she's using her fruit powers from Boa Hancock to take advantage of and get them. Similarly, S Snake is fighting well, but now Sanji's entered a fight against him, and I think that's going to be a very toss up. What's going to happen there? What was else? But he keeps using that diving fruit. I know it's his dive. Is that what it's called? Senior Pink's fruit to try to ambush the others, and I don't know how well he'll. I feel like, actually, you know what? I just realized if he tries on Sanji's fought with I can't think of his name now, but he's one of the other former Cypherpole agents who had the wolf fruit, and he kept trying to play games against no, not games, but he was trying to do that kind of stuff where he was trying to take advantage of Sanji. I think it was like playing dead or something like that. I can't remember the fight exactly now. So. My point is that someone fighting like this kind of thing against ambushing Sanji, I don't think will work very long because Sanji's a clever fighter where you're not gonna trick him like you can with Luffy. So I think his and Snake's Shark's fight's gonna be the most interesting one. So yeah, the last thing. So starting with the chapter cover now, we we have another chapter cover, and we find out. What's happening here now is Caesar and Judge have resolved their differences, and they're forming a Neo-Mads group in the cover. It shows the two of them standing together. I think they're shaking hands too. It's cute. Yeah, they're like holding hands, and it's like kind of, and there's a lot of celebrations of the from some of his troops nearby. And who's that? One of the brothers is just shown in the background walking away. So that's what's going on there. So that'll be interesting to see what these two are going to do next. If they'll, what kind of projects I guess they would do, because they both have different. The stuff we've shown with them, they both have done their own type of science. Caesar, we know, does stuff doing stuff primarily with smile production, and he's created artificial creatures that are like that beast he made of goo or whatever that attacked. He unleashed that punch hazard as an experiment, and he was showing it off to other pirates who were watching. Actually, that was pretty neat, by the way. How did that work? That's pretty neat how someone like that can set up a Den Mushies, and then he can broadcast it through like one other one. I have to look again and broadcast what he's doing to all these other ones. Like that. Of course, I think they showed some of that at, that's right, the Marines were doing that too, when they had Ace's execution and they broadcasted, and we saw Sabah Odie in particular, where lots of reporters were sitting there watching. I wonder if they did some of that at Reverie. I saw that they had a. I was watching the Reverie episode yesterday with where Shirahoshi's entering, and they had lots of photographers there. By the way, that's very interesting. Hold on a second here. I just realized how interesting it's one of the more advanced technology stuff that Oda is showing that people in the One Piece world have is cameras. These cameras, some of them look very advanced the way they were drawn. Not quite like so. Because a lot of One Piece has the appearance of being like set in the I would say the 1800s. They're getting better like ships now too. Aren't they getting like ships that run like propellers, like kind of like steamboats or something of that sort? Probably running on some, or maybe they're using some other kind of coal, or I don't know if they've gone up to using something like petrol yet. But between that and the cameras, One Piece world is definitely getting more advanced. I wonder if any of that had to do with Vegapunk, with the cameras anyways. I think the ships have to do with Vegapunk, because most of the stuff is just sailing. And Frankie too is certainly getting advanced in making his stuff. I wonder if someday after he's after One Piece is like the main story's over, if that's what Frankie would do in producing stuff, that mass producing stuff like Vegapunk wants to do too, to sell to the consumers. Sorry for that tangent. Okay, let's get on with it. So we start off the chapter with Stussy and Sentomaru talking to each other, and she's informing him that the situation of the reinforcements of the Navy coming, and how that they were coming to he's coming following up as like backup with Cypher Pole Zero once they had destroyed once they had killed Vegapunk, and then she fills them in on what they were briefed on about this, and we learn here how Vegapunk was continuing. I don't know, because I don't think Shaka implied really said that. He said he read the books and that, but so she talks about how he got the research from Ohara and he's been continuing it, and the reason too, they're worried about. They seem to be worried about the implication I'm getting here is interesting. It looks like the world government talks a bit about that later, I think too. It implies here that the world government was probably worried about, I guess, Vegapunk going rogue with his Seraphims and his other technology, and then becoming another force that they would have to deal with. And so they're trying to get rid of him because Ohara was defenseless. You know, we learned that Clover in 1066, we learned that Clover was someone who sailed around collecting texts, and he was imprisoned many times, and he escaped. But once he got to Ohara and set up shop there and had other people coming, he became a sitting duck, essentially, and had no way to fight back. They weren't mobile anymore. And I'm guessing here that looks like the government was worried because Vegapunk probably could become mobile. Maybe he could, that would have been something. What if he had taken like Egghead Island and, how do you put it? Made it mobile like Moria did with Thriller Bark, and then he'd have like a mobile fortress / laboratory thing he could keep away, slip away from the Navy. So this revs up Sentomaru here to implore his the staff there to escape, and we see that many of them are taking heed his words, and it probably because they overheard too. They look like they overheard the conversation here with Stussy, so they're planning on escaping now, and listening to what the warning that Sentomaru has told them. Although I don't know what they're going to use to escape now, because I'm pretty sure CP0 they already destroyed the other ships. The only Straw Hats, the Sunny, remained as far as I know. By the way, too, I didn't notice there's a couple things I didn't notice in the other chapters I wanted to bring up quickly. I forgot that they locked up some of the other Cypher Pole the regular agents that were there is back up in a factory place somewhere there. So I wonder if they'll be found, or if this place just blows up. If Kizu bombards this place basically with, because he's bringing like 100 ships with him. I wonder if those guys will become collateral damage, unfortunately, to this event. They probably would. And then just blame it more on Vegapunk and Straw Hats for this. Also, one little thing I missed for last chapter. Was it last chapter? Whenever one, yeah, I think when Sanji started fighting S-Shark, I misread the piece, and I thought that was Brook reading out this Constitution articles saying, if you make Nami scream, I'll hurt, or cry, I'll hurt you. And it was actually Sanji's voice in the distance as he had was coming and charged into that drop kick into S-Shark. So I got that bit wrong. So now we cut over back to where S-Snake is fighting Frankie. Where the last chapter they almost won against her. They had brought the Lilith's bubble gun. I almost said bubble gum. Bubble gun proved to be advantageous against these things, and probably was made with this intent because it had the energy of the sea. So like, I'm guessing the Sea Prism Stone, and her and Frankie, Lilith and Frankie had got the bubble on her, but Frankie unfortunately messed up because S-Snake played up how much it was hurting, and because she's a kid, she's acting like, you know, showed a painful face, and Frankie fell for this, and she took that advantage there to kick him with a special attack of hers and turn part of him into stone. And when the other two try to help Usopp and Lilith, because York here is still in stone, Usopp and Lilith got turned to stone by her regular attack, the mellow love or whatever, the beam attack she has, much like Boa's. So we continue here with that bit with Frankie yelling at her, trying to get himself turned back, and it looks for sure what we see going on is S-Snake and the others are it's painfully obvious that they're after the satellites first, because she ignores Lilith, Usopp, and Frankie, and immediately goes after Pythagoras. And Pythagoras is pissed, and more than being afraid here, Pythagoras just looks upset that someone is ordering her to do this, and he yells at her and asks her like, "Who are you taking orders from?" But S-Snake just ignores him, and this appears to be the end for him. She comes up above him because he's in his little head, his little football body, and we just see her foot above him, and it switches to Frankie, and we only hear a crush sound, and Frankie sees this happen, unfortunately, and then this scene ends as she's like walking away afterward, but she just left the others alone. She didn't even have to try to make sure Lilith is dead. I'm surprised. She just goes after Pythagoras. She went after Pythagoras first, so yeah, because he's right there and vulnerable. But she left Lilith as stone, it looked like, and she just leaves here. And Frankie's like yelling at her like to wait up and like, where you going? I don't know. And she just ignores him, doesn't try to fight him anymore. I assume she's not seeing him no longer as a threat. Also of note, it's still interesting to see her eyes. Oda really likes when he's focusing in on their eyes, he still shows those stars in their eyes. I'm still wondering, as I pointed out in my video a couple of days ago, how important is that to this, when they're under orders. So now we switch back to, we haven't seen these guys in a little bit really. We switched to the last group we didn't see, because because everyone had broken up into 4 groups. Yeah. Well, really 5 when you take Shaka and Zoro and Luffy being in the command room. The other groups had broken up, and we saw that. Yeah, we didn't even see Chelsea or Jinbei until just recently. That's right, because they're both. So I forgot, when Stussy and is talking to Sentomaru, we see her and Jinbei. They're in, was that where they were before? Yeah, they're still in the same area where Sanji left them, and there it looks like they're heading toward, where were they going? Also, actually, I have something else of note. I thought maybe that no one can communicate with these Den Mushis, but so that's what Stussy and because he Sentomaru had pointed out he couldn't reach anyone or reach Vegapunk. Maybe he was only trying Vegapunk, but him and Stussy got together, a hold of each other here, and just petting my cat. They she points out about their other communications equipment in the lab phase is destroyed. But it shows them heading off together there. Anyway, sorry, the group, we haven't seen, when we saw the Seraphim begin attacking, we had not seen Robin, Atlas, and Chopper, but we switched to them now right after where we saw the group with S-Snake. And they've heard, they're talking about how they must have heard, they had heard Nami's screams, and Sanji went ahead. And they point out, like, yeah, when Nami's screaming, we know that Sanji will go right away to protect her. And Robin and Chopper point out the obvious, like, if this is while this is happening, we gotta be careful because Vegapunk could be in trouble here. And then now Atlas, like Shaka before, realizes where he likely realizes where Vegapunk probably is. She points out, like, there's a lab and it was sealed off, and she wouldn't have thought anyone would use it. So her and the Robin and Chopper plan on going there now. So now we know, that'll be interesting. Hopefully they can get there quickly, because now we know that there's an assailant there with Vegapunk and his Cypherpole agents who's just killed Shaka, and hopefully they can get there before maybe the person's probably gonna kill Vegapunk. I'm sorry if I'm keeping this under wraps. I want to do this just in case the other people who haven't read this watch this video. So where are they? Are they still in the same spot? They were on building B. Yeah, they're still in the same area they were before as well. They got the little map here showing up again. Cat hair on my nose. And yeah, they're in the same spots as before. So now we switch to where Nami's group is now, and while Sanji and the S-Snake are still going at it, Nami's trying to see if Edison is okay, because he got attacked by the S-Snake in the last chapter. It was shown off screen. We just saw when he got ambushed, probably, but the S-Snake probably used the same ambushing tactic he did on Nami later to and that light. I should go this way. Here we go. I'm gonna switch a little bit. Anyways, no mind. Anyways, while Nami's trying to help Edison, Brook decides to take initiative, and he gets out in his ghost form, leaving his body, and he informs Nami, we should look for Vegapunk. I'll go ahead and start out and look. And while that happens, we see S-Snake and Sanji's fight begin a little bit, but we don't get much. But he tries just a straight punch at Sanji, and it looks like it does practically nothing to Sanji except maybe some bruising, some dirt. It like looks darker on his face, where, like, I'm assuming that's some kind of bruising. First, I was reading this though, and I'm wondering if that means he's hey, kitty, careful. Meaning that I wonder if this is him because he's with his fight with Queen. He seems to be gaining more of his whatever improvements, or you could argue whether improvements, of course. Whatever Judge did to him, as well as his siblings, is now taking effect on him and changing his body. And I was wondering if that is what we're seeing here, where he's recovering quickly at the very least from this attack. Maybe that's why there's just a little bruising. It's like it hurt, but he's gonna recover quickly, as we saw, like his broken limbs and the fight with what was that, when he first was fighting Queen, and it showed him all like, yeah, like his arms and legs were all different ways. And we end off the little scene with him asking S-Snake, do you understand what the power of love is? And you're about to. So like he's fired up here, of course, because of Nami. He hurt Nami, and Sanji can't stand that. I just realized if Nami and him really were interested, and he also has pudding, is Sanji essentially going to get his own harem here at the end? Because like Luffy, like he's helped some other characters here who are ladies like Rebecca and Vivi, but I don't think they're romantically interested in him. So he really doesn't have a harem. He just has Hancock, who's solely or wholly into him, and but it just so happens he has all these other female characters who are indebted to him and probably help him out, but only as a friend. But Sanji here looks like the one who could end up with well, Zoro too, I guess, that with a harem, because he likes Nami. I don't think Robin will be interested in him. Hopefully he'll be in trouble someday if he's with one of these others, and he's still doing his goggly eye stuff. Come on, stop it. Crawling all over my stuff. You can sit here. So now we switch back to the top floor with Luffy's group, and now they're having a problem because now they're starting to get a little winded here apparently, and they still can't get the flames to go out on what was it? Sorry, I haven't went on the Seraphim. They are fighting. And then they have a new problem now. Luffy notices that S-Hawk has disappeared, and some turkey out there. They deduce that he must be he's given up here and going after other targets, which makes me think about the other satellites. Wait, how many other satellites are still there? Edison, York, Lilith, Atlas too. I wonder if he might end up going after Atlas's group, I would suspect. Let's see. I can't get the name right. Lucci realizes deduces too, and he's like, they're probably trying to take out your friends. He may be going after your friends first as well, because he wants to, how do you say that? Taking them out could shake the stronger ones. So when he brings this up, Zoro decides to go after him, and this is a funny moment here too. When he does that, Luffy's like, I guess, worried about him, and he orders Kaku to go after the help Zoro, but he calls him Usopp. He doesn't remember his name. It's like, I'm sure you must have heard his name. You talked to him. Didn't he talk to him once wait, did he use his real name then? He talked to him once back at Water 7 when Kaku was posing as a ship engineer. But he yells, Usopp, go help him. Because he gets lost easily. And to Kaku's credit, he listens and he doesn't get... I'm really glad, because I was so sick of seeing... we've seen this multiple times. I was so sick of when the pirates, some of these guys had their alliances in the past, the Kid Law and Luffy in particular, they just can't handle taking orders from each other in any way possible. They just, even if it's like a good idea, they're like, don't order me around. And it's just like, oh, I can't stand it. When there's situations like this in stories, like if it happened to me in reality, something you have where you don't like someone, but if they give you say something to you that's like an order, but it's a good idea, it's no brainer. Like, I wouldn't be looking at that person and saying, shut up, you pissant, I don't want to take orders from you. Oh, look, there's Wilder. You gonna help me, Wilder? So yeah, our Kaku, to his credit, listens to him and follows Zoro. Meanwhile, so that happens. Luffy goes after Esper again, who's still there, and well, he waited there. I'm surprised he didn't attack. He's there, and Luffy goes after him with a Hawk Gatling gun attack, and is yelling, "Go away, flames!" And then Lucci's trying to work with him and says, "Don't do that, you idiot! You're just wasting your stamina. We're not gonna get rid of the flames simply by throwing out attacks." So that's where we end that bit, and now we get a little scenes here. We start doing this little, like, I think this is supposed to be basically Oda or like a narrator, and he starts going over some of the background stuff, and this becomes part of the build-up to the last scene here, where we see who the culprit is. That's Shaka. I'm gonna get there. But we have one more little 3 panels here where we switch to Bonnie briefly, and she is still in that room in front of in front of Kuma's thing, and she's crying here. And based on the way she's acting, I'm assuming she saw all his memories in there enough to conclude why him and Vegapunk did this to him, why he allowed this to happen, to become like a machine, a soulless sort of machine. I wouldn't call it soulless. I'm guessing the way this implies, his soul is still there, but his mind has been somehow separated out, so that in this thing, I wonder how that would still be tethered metaphysically or something. But he's still like, if this went back into him, I'm sure it would return him to normal, like the way we saw him at Thriller Bark. So as we get that over this thing, we start seeing these panels, and we get a little. This is like the narrator does this little future thing, like they did before, sometimes before, and it says, "This was the day before the famous Egghead incident." So obviously this is going to be big in the news at some point. And the narrator goes. We do a flashback though, and the narrator tells us this story started 3 months ago. And we see now Marijois, and we see a voice of a voiceover of someone making a call to Marijois, basically like giving. Then this is where we find out the first point this person tipped off the Gorosei about the government in general, because they too of Vegapunk's his secretly researching the Ohara's, following up Ohara's research about the ancient civilization and the Void Century. So yeah, this person says that Vegapunk was investigating the contents of the Void Century, and we don't see who this is. It slowly builds up here. So this is when CP5 was sent, and they come there to do an investigation. It looks like they're bringing up. They show us a couple of them around his lab in front of Vegapunk and Shaka, and it looks like they're carrying like a order that's probably like saying we're like a search warrant, I guess you could call it, kind of like. And they went there, but Vegapunk, I don't know if he probably expected this. It looks like, so he has what do you call it? He hid his evidence. He hid what he's been doing really well. And it says here, the text box continues that CP5 found nothing. And then we continue with how that ship left after they were done with their investigation, and then it disappeared. Of course, we saw that the satellites had no idea of this. When Lucci asked, was it Pythagoras on the radio? And Lilith was there too. Like, do you know anything about these missing ships? They had no idea. That was something I was wondering for a while, if they were just faking that and if they knew that the ships were taken out. But it really, as I look at this now, it didn't make sense that the satellites would knowingly allow that to happen, because they would know that taking out even like lesser branches of the Cypherpol agents or groups of them would just piss off the government. But so they knew nothing, and so anyways, then the text box continues with pointing out that other groups must have went forward, I guess, to right, because they said they also went there to investigate at other times, I'm assuming too, because 7 went next, because they were also probably went there and tried to catch Vegapunk red-handed again, and they probably to look for 5, but then they disappeared. The 8 and then 8 had followed, and none, it says here like how goes over how none of them ever returned to report in. So now we go over and we get a little brief part again with the voice, this person talking to, getting a hold of Marie Joie. And then we get the text box here where it points out how, following the conversation between the Gorosei and someone, they realized that Vegapunk had betrayed them. And they decided they had to get rid of him. And then they dispatched Icus Zero. So then it brings up here how, yes, they anticipated that Vegapunk maybe would fight back and or maybe escape. It says retaliation here. So they decided one of them would go out there with Kizaru and with plenty of reinforcements to make sure that the job was done. So we get little panels here of Saint J. Garcia, Kizaru, and I think this is a number of must be vice admirals. I don't recognize any. Well, that one there looks like the girl who's at I think that's G14, that was talking to Garp a few chapters ago. But I don't recognize the other ones. I'll have to look them up later for this. So it looks like they're implying they're getting many battalions led by vice admirals following up with Kizaru and Admiral. And then now we get on to how the only thing that was the thing they never expected with all this was that Luffy's crew would make it there to the island. And actually, I like this panel because it's the first time we see the unexpected appearance of the Emperor of the Sea, Straw Hat Luffy. So we finish it off with the government, like how it seemed like Kizaru and not Kizaru, I mean Akainu and one of the other girls say like oh god, he's there again. He's always in, meaning Luffy, how they like great. Now Straw Hat's there right when we're about to clean up this problem we have. And it shows Luffy in the middle of those two laughing in his Gear 5th form. So now we finish it off with the little hinting here, this thing being like this, because this narration is coming afterward, and it talks about how the outcome of that day, the following day, the outcome of the incident would give the world, the whole world would have this unthinkable shock from what happened there. And now we finally get to the last scene, and we find out who this is. So we get by the way, I was talking about yesterday, or not yesterday, my other video 2 days ago, I think I made it, about the sound effects being like Im-sama, and they still use that here, but well, I don't think this is Im-sama. No, it can't be. So we get this scene here, and we get a little more build up here, and we see the steps, and Vegapunk and a Cypher pulling those the tubes, prisons, and Shaka's body smoldering there. And Vegapunk sees who this is right away, and he's angry, and he yells at this person. Did you do all this willingly, purposely, and were you the mastermind? And this person just walks up real close to Vegapunk's tube, and we finally see that it's York, the satellite of desire, the one who eats for everyone, is there somehow. And she just goes, casually bends down in front of him and is like, "Yes, hi Stella, it's me. I'm going to be a celestial dragon." So we see where her, the ending even says like her desire revealed. So Vegapunk is astonished at this and upset, and he's like, "What are you talking about? You've been there. Why would you want to be like one of them?" And all York does is laugh at him and say, "You sound just like Shaka." Well, he's dead. It's always so confusing with all these Vegapunks around. And then she stares back at Vegapunk and says, "Don't you think we would be all better off if there was only one of us?" End of chapter. So clearly York thinks she should be the only Vegapunk. She's got it in her head that she's better than him, and wants to be a Celestial Dragon. Nice. So I guess she's thinking if she delivers Vegapunk's head to the World Gorosei, they'll anoint her a Celestial Dragon. You know, I'm not too surprised by this either, because look how she lives her life. She's there eating, and somehow her eating provides sustenance for the others who are working, like Edison and Pythagoras in particular, who are always really busy with their experiments and taking notes with the Seraphim. But think about how she lives her life there. She's living almost similar to how the Celestial Dragons live, where they live in luxury on top of the world, and they have no problems. And she must be looking at that. When he said she was there once, so she must have saw that and wanted to have that really good life like that. And I'm blown away here. I did not expect her to be the one. I thought about Atlas recently. I thought about Lilith, and I realized shortly after that was way too easy. I kept telling myself, when other people kept bringing up like the Seraphim or maybe Saint J, I kept telling myself, I don't know, I had like a feeling like that can't. It could be with the Seraphim. I could have saw them listen to orders from her or somebody else when we didn't know who it was, but it seemed too easy. It would be just the Seraphim to me, because everyone thought of it. Like I had a feeling Oda would think about that and just mix it up. And it seems I was partially right on that. I don't know if he thought that with the Seraphim, but he really knew how to make sure that practically no one could guess this. And unless I had thought of Shaka, because I was thinking Shaka was the one who would do it too. And actually, what's funny here is I did get partially something right too with, I was thinking about this with Shaka though. I thought maybe Shaka would want to work with the government, or Lilith even too, because they would want to work a deal out. I thought about Lilith wanting to do it to branch off, to have her own lab and be her own scientist, because she's like an evil scientist. I can't remember exactly why I thought about Shaka. Maybe did I think with Shaka? Well, what I was thinking recently, hold on. What I was thinking recently, or maybe I said that too in my other video, I was thinking Shaka might have done it because he would be so logical that he might have turned in Vegapunk because he was upset that Vegapunk was researching his stuff somehow. Not somehow, researching his stuff, and would be like, this is wrong. Well, yeah, was that part of it? I don't know, but I thought he would be the one. I really thought Shaka too would be like logically thinking this is wrong or something. No, I had some other way of theory. I forgot. But maybe he would turn in Vegapunk and want to survive, make a deal. I had said, I pointed out. But, so her wanting to make a deal with the government is the only thing I really got the best thing right here was that. And now I see why. But instead of being a scientist of her own, like I kind of thought Lilith would have done if she did this, if it had been her. She wants to be a Celestial Dragon, so I was way off that way. But something else I wanted to bring up too. I'm curious, like if whatever happens next, if maybe Vegapunk manages to get away. Something I thought about before, but I'm wondering if this will. Two things too. I wonder if this will raise how much this would raise the Straw Hat's bounty if they would go up again, especially Luffy's in this case, if they escape with Vegapunk and they manage to escape this island, kind of like what happened with Enies Lobby, where they escaped with Nico Robin and defeated Cypher Paul. If some of this gets out there, that's right, where's Caribou too? If some of this gets out there via Caribou, because I think some other people pointed this out, but I agree. I think Caribou's been relaying information to Morgans. That's right, because Morgans in 1074 found out about Straw Hat being there. So it's got to be Caribou telling him stuff. So if Caribou gets out most of what happened here, the bullet points, I have a feeling the bounties are all skyrocket again. And I'll be very interested to see what the government would want to put on them, given that if Vegapunk especially, the Stella body is live and well with them, and that because everyone knows about him. Well, actually, no. The way Morgan is already spinning it, he's spinning it now to make it look like Vegapunk is being kidnapped. But if the other people find out, so even that there might get their Straw Hats bounty up. But I'm thinking about if they find out later that Luffy and Vegapunk are like working together, it's not a kidnapping situation. They'll be like, that's why I'm thinking the bounties would really skyrocket, because of, even like Dave pointed out, and the last thing I want to point out was with Akainu. When he said something interesting, let me find it actually. Something interesting with Akainu. I was curious. It's probably partially I was confused because of one of the early renderings of the translations. It sounded to me at first that Akainu may not have known that Cypher Pole was going to assassinate Vegapunk. Because when he gets a report here in chapter 1069, I think, or several chapters ago, anyways, that they found out about Straw Hats on the island. He talked about how if Vegapunk was recruited Straw Hat, or went with Straw Hat, that this would be a major blow to our combat power. And the way he's reading that, the way I understood this, I thought that meant he doesn't. I'm wondering if he didn't know the Gorosei had ordered them to actually kill Vegapunk, because I think Akainu more than anyone would probably want Vegapunk to be alive, or somehow work something out so Vegapunk's not killed, because they need him to help bolster like their ships and stuff like that. I don't know if Akainu would care about using these pacifistas or Seraphim. I'm curious what his opinion is of them. But what I'm getting at is he'd be upset that Vegapunk is killed one way or the other, because he'd want to have him around still to help them in their fight against pirates. So that was very interesting. It's very interesting the way he wrote that. But I don't know, it can't be totally right there, because he knows Kizaru's there, going there. It just sounds like to me, I wonder if he wasn't told the full parameters of this operation by the Gorosei, because he was already upset with them back at Dressrosa about the Dressrosa stuff, about the things they pulled there with Zero. Oh, I forget how the context of that worked. He was mad that they faked that, the stuff with something with Doflamingo. I can't remember the specifics now, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the same thing happening over again, where they are going over his head. Well, they can with Igus Zero. They report to him. They probably don't even report. I don't think these guys even really probably report to like Akainu or Kong, who's the commander-in-chief that we've seen a few times, who's acts as like a go-between from like Akainu and the Cypher Pole apparently to the Gorosei. It seems to me the Cypher Pole take orders directly through the Gorosei. I wonder if they do that like in secret a lot. But Akainu knows about this to some degree. So it's just, I'm curious like how much this could, he may not know about this, that the Gorosei, would keep from him. So there's a lot to chew in here. But my biggest thing is, how did York get here, obviously? Because she got turned to stone. Now wait, I think Boa can turn people back from that, right? Let me look at something. I'm looking at just the manga right now, and I don't see how they showed how Boa turned those other girls back, that she was going to punish them, and Luffy saved them in the fight when he was fighting her sisters. But assuming here, when Lilith got turned into the stone a few chapters ago, right at the end of this last chapter, when we see Snake walking away, ignoring Frankie, she must have turned York back into her human form. I wonder if Frankie was able to witness that when that happened. If the other thing that was first occurring to me was maybe York had like a doppelganger, made a copy of herself, and what do you call it? That thing was turned to stone. And she had it wandering around like she was remote controlling a second version of herself, walking around with that group. while she really was sneaking around using one of maybe 2 methods I was speaking about in my last video, like teleporting, that warp village, that thing that Stella had, or using the light hologram technology to camouflage herself so she wasn't visible by the Denton mushies. A lot of stuff I'll go over. I'm going to be going over in another video, but geez, it's just like, did not see York being the one. So who's she taking out now? It looks like Shaka and Pythagoras for sure are gone. So we still got Edison. Yanami's with Edison. Atlas is with Chopper and Chopper and not Robin. Lilith got turned to stone. We didn't see if she got destroyed there. It looked like Snake just left. And then Lilith, York. Who am I missing? Edison and Atlas. I guess that was it. Edison and Atlas are still okay. Well, we don't know if Edison is, but Atlas is with. And Atlas, right? Atlas is about to make her way down there with Robin and Chopper to where York is. Is that enough to stop her? Chopper can fight, and Robin, yeah, they both can fight. And then, I'm just concerned because I don't know what tricks. I have a couple ideas where I just did what tricks are up her sleeve, so I'm concerned about what she could pull there to trick the other two, and then try to kill Atlas at that point too. Anyways, yeah, that'll be the end of the chapter review. Thanks for watching.